I know. I don't know.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Light, and I'm going to be using the magic wand to convert customary units. The first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use some units that we already know how to convert. Let's use our first one. Let's say we are going to take 15 feet, and I want to know how many yards that is. The first thing I go ahead and do is I take my 15 feet, and I write 15 feet over 1. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see that board. All right. And then I'm going to multiply my 15 feet by my magic 1. One of the things that I need to know is how many feet are in a yard. There are 3 feet in a yard. So when I go ahead and I multiply fractions like 4/5 times 5 tenths, one of the things that you notice is the 5s can cancel out because one is on the top and one is on the bottom. We use that same strategy to go ahead and cancel out the units. So if I know that 3 feet are in a yard, I know that 3 feet have to go on the bottom because feet is in the numerators and feet is in the denominators, and in order to cancel them out, they need to be opposite. So now I have 1 yard because 1 yard equals 3 feet. So 15 feet times 1 yard on the numerators and 1 times 3 feet in the denominators. I use the same strategy that I go ahead and I use when I multiply fractions, and in order to do that, I go ahead and do some cross-canceling out. So when I cross-cancel out, I know that feet and feet cancel out. I know that 15 and 3 cancel out to be 5 and 1. So then I go through and I multiply regularly. 5 times 1 yard is 5 yards. And 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is 5 yards. 5 yards. The hardest part about doing this is making sure that you go ahead and you write the correct units on the top and the correct units on the bottom. So the numerator and denominator position means the most. Let's try another example. If I go ahead and I have 17, let's say I have 180 minutes, okay? And I want to know how many hours that is. The first thing I go ahead and I do is I take my 180 minutes and I write it over 1. Now, using my magic wand, I then need to decide, all right, minutes and hours. What do I know about minutes and hours? I have 60 minutes in an hour. And now I need to decide, does 60 minutes go in my numerator or does 60 minutes go in my denominator? It goes in my denominator because the minutes are going to need to cancel out. So I know that 60 minutes is 1 hour. The minutes, they cancel out. And I also use what I know about multiplying fractions. So 180 and 60 both can be divided by 60. 180 divided by 60 is 3, and 60 divided by 60 is 1. So then I go ahead and I multiply. 3 times 1 hour is 3 hours. Okay? 1 times 1 is 1. So I know that 180 minutes is 3 hours. We're going to try one more example, but this time we're going to go from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So let's say that I have, let's say I have 8 days. Okay? And I want to know how many hours that is. So the first thing I go ahead and I do is I go through and I write 8 days over 1. Now I multiply by my magic 1. I know that there are 24 hours in a day. So I need to decide, does days go on top or does days go on the bottom? Numerator or denominator? It goes in the denominator, so the days cancel out. So I can write 1 day is the same as 24 hours. And I use the same strategy with canceling out for multiplying fractions. Days go away. I have 8 times 24 hours. I may not know what that is, so I may have to doodle. 24 times 8, that's 32, 16, 17, 18, 19. I have 192 hours over 1. So my answer is 192 hours. One of the things that you need to remember when you're going through and you're using the magic wand is that you need to have the correct units in the numerator and the correct units in the denominator. To do that, you need for them to be opposite.